Hi, this is Richard Newen. I'm covering a video for Multiverse Theory using the MCU as just a fun little backing because it explains multiverse quite well. Hi to Miss Irfan. Without further ado, I'm going to start the video. First, covering the history. The term multiverse theory usually is describing the idea that there are multiple universes or more than one universe other than our observable universe. And the first mention of it as a term was in 1895 by William James, but it wasn't actually really used or backed by any concepts until Erwin Schrödinger with his Schrödinger's cat thought experiment in 1935, and then in 1954, Hugh Everett came with many worlds theory, and as a Princeton student, his theory was heavily criticized by the scientific community because he kind of came up with it after drinking one night, which is very questionable. But it would continue to gain popularity as Gabriel Veronese came up with string theory, or the idea that our subatomic particles are multidimensional rather than just singular dimensional. And so then that formed the backbone for the membranes universe theory, which was given credit to David Kellogg Lewis in the 1960s and 70s for coming up with the idea that all worlds could be possible. And then Alan Guth and his colleagues would come up with cosmic inflation theory in 1980, which I won't go into too much because I'll probably explain that a little later. And then in 1989, the parallel universe was created by Jin Dai and his associates from Texas University, Max Tegmark, and his another computer scientist, Jürgen Schmidhumer. In the 19s would come up with the idea that mathematically you could have another universe and that these mathematical systems are all equally possible. And then Brian Greene would popularize it from the 1980s forward to our present day. So, what are the three multiverse theories? There's bubble universe theory, the idea that our universe is in a bubble and has been expanding since the Big Bang that created our observable universe, the membranes universe, and then there's the membranes universe theory, where there are our universe exists in a membrane, and there are more membranes in a multi-dimensional universe. Let's say our universe is three-dimensional. There's another three-dimensional membranes, and then there's more that fit a multi-dimensional universe that we can't really it would be difficult to imagine. And then the last theory would be many worlds theory. Another theory is the many worlds theory, and the fourth theory is kind of a combination of all three. So going into it, bubble universe theory is the idea that there are other observable universes within their own bubble, and they are just too different or too distant, sorry, to see from our within our given our technology. Thor, in the movie Thor, they actually referenced that the Hubble telescope can't see these other realms, which is a very different, which is a unique way to put the different universes. And it's actually kind of further supported because in the movie, before he travels to the realm of Jotunheim, he actually needs a special device that spins up like a cannon, almost building energy to just shoot him across the bridges that or the bifrost that connects all these worlds. And once the world actually the bridge is destroyed, actually Loki says that you can't go back to Earth and go see Jane Foster, Thor's girlfriend, essentially for the movie, and that actually makes sense. So if the bridge is destroyed, then there's no way that these universes or these bubble universes are connected. It's just gone. And that actually is supported by the idea of bubble universe theory, the idea that our universe is in a bubble and is constantly expanding. So moving on into the challenges with it. Obviously, this is very costly. It's not supported by everyone. It's even myself. I like the idea of another universe, but I'm a Christian, and to believe that there could be another universe without God is kind of it kind of steps on my religion and my beliefs, and that and furthermore, there are other difficulties. There's the financial difficulty of having these experiments performed. There's the lack, and then there's the lack of government support. Even though we've had a lot of experiments like the CBE, or the COEB, which was an experiment to send a drone to understand some of these disturbances within our own universes that could suggest that our universe clashed with another. But the problem is that also is backed by observant data, and it's not like we could kind of measure these things, and we wouldn't really know how valid this is because we don't know what the other universe would be like, and we can't really prove that these clashes are a result of two universes hitting each other. Um, because of that, it's not a well supported theory, and neither are the other two. But this is probably the one that actually can be realistically experimented on because we can at least send drones to figure out these things about these unknown constants such as dark energy, antimatter, uh, all these cosmological and phenomenons that happen. So at least there is some scientific basis, and there is some scientific proof of it. So quickly going into it, uh, there are a lot of advantages that we might be able to have from finding another bubble universe. The first, most obvious, is resources. It's well known that Earth is has finite resources. If we could find out that there are other universes that have resources, we could possibly trade with the life that exists there, or just take the materials. It would further increase the understanding that we have of the physics of the universe. Uh, and honestly, the possibilities are endless. If we could find space travel, we could just exist in those other universes as well. I'm not going to go all into it because that's a lot, and the other two universes, it's equally the gains are equally the same. So going into so yeah, the MCU actually describes it quite well. It builds on it, starting on Thor, but it continues on. They even show that we eventually gain technology to be able to explore beyond Earth with all the space travel and Guardians of the Universe, and the subsequent movies. So it's quite pleasurable. So going on into the second theory, there is the membranes theory, which is the idea that there could be our universe is one of three-dimensional universes that make up a greater multiverse. Think of a magazine, and the pages are one universe. They're separate from each other, but yet they form up a larger entity. And that's essentially what bubble universe theory is. Doctor Strange has a scene. The movie Doctor Strange has a scene where the Ancient One explains that our perception of reality is completely only fixated on what we know, and that there's so much more. And she actually essentially shows him these different universes that sit and parallel each other, but we can't quite get into these universes. Um, as if there was just barriers or space. The scientists actually think that if we reach beyond light speed, we can breach into these barriers. And string theory actually revolution had led to two revolutions that gave us five theories, thinking that the describing that the one-dimensional strings that are could be that end in our universes can form a multi-dimensional multiverse. And and generally, unlike the bubble universe theory, where there are slightly different constants, physical constants in these other universes, the idea that scientists have concluded on is that those membranes universes would be have completely different constants from ours, and you kind of see that actually in that open your eyes scene with Stephen Strange. There are completely different universes. There's some really dark universes. It's actually mind blowing how descriptive that the movie gets, and it's kind of further supported later into Infinity War when uh, Doctor Strange starts looking over the universe. But that actually ties into the third multiverse theory, that there are the many worlds theory. This is probably the most popularly known. It's basically the idea that the multiverse is the derivative of one kind of timeline that deviates in certain places. So in Captain America, there is our world, except there is Hydra and magic from Asgard being left on Earth, and there aren't too many differences. Like after the movie kind of ends, it shows that our the timeline deviates back to what we know. Like there's not too much differences, and yet the differences are completely limitless, because later on in the MCU, Doctor Strange looks for all the possibilities in time in branches and timelines, meaning that they equally all exist. For a way how they beat Thanos at the end. Spoilers, by the way. Uh, so that proves that there could be multiple timelines in different universes. But the problem with that, there's even more challenges than the second and first multiverse series. There's no way to prove it. So yeah, it's unfortunately it's all theory and nothing else. There's no experiments. There's no government support. It's even more disputed. It's an interesting thought. It could potentially work if we could find a way to travel into another timeline. We'd know by looking up the history what it was, and the benefits could be even more than our own, because we also learn what makes these changes in uh, in the timeline. And then, according to Max Tegmark's four levels of multiverse theory, there's also the all-inclusive theory, where just all of it is combined. So there could be bubbles in the universe, and then that could be form a membrane, and then in those bubbles there could be different timelines of one universe, and there's just this huge multiverse, like Marvel seems to portray when throughout all the movies, which is really interesting, because usually everyone prefers the Marvel MCU as just to the many worlds theory, but I actually think that it could be all inclusive. And there's a lot of scenes to support this. So there's Galaxies of the Guardians 1 and 2, Thor, uh, mostly Thor 1, that support the bubble universe theory. And then there's a scene and then there's Doctor Strange, which kind of supports the membranes. And then there's the first Captain America, the first Avenger, Iron Man, and it's so the all the timelines coming together. And then Endgame and Infinity War kind of just brings it all together, which is quite nice. So thanks for watching. I've got all the sources attached to a Word document with my script and the sources. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. And remember, this is including my shield. Heroes aren't born; they're made. And the most powerful superpower you can have is really just that, your mind. Thanks, everyone. Bye.